It's a well-known motif in America that freedom comes with a price, and this actually, when you think about it, applies to everything in life, even music. So, by a show of hands, how many of you have ever heard of music piracy before? Okay, quite a few. How many of you, by a show of hands, and I promise I won't call the cops on you, have ever illegally downloaded an album before? There you go, okay, me too. I myself have spent a lot of time studying music piracy, and yes, I may have downloaded an illegal album here or there, but aside from that, this is something that I've taken a real interest in, and I've researched it a lot over the past couple of years. Music piracy is very quickly becoming one of the most important influences on the way that music is distributed and on American pop culture in general. So today I'm going to give a brief background of music piracy and talk about the history, and then I'm going to talk about the impact that it's had on the music industry, and then I'll close out by telling you guys about how the music industry is trying to fight back against piracy. So first, let's go over the history. How many of you guys know what that is? Anyone? There you go. Yeah, that's Napster. So the first service to provide an opportunity for music listeners around the world to get access for free was Napster, which was started in 1999 by Sean Fanning. And according to the University of Carolina, at its peak, Napster had over 25 million users and 80 million songs. And despite the huge load, the servers never crashed. And there had been file sharing services in the past, but Napster was definitely the biggest one that had come up yet, and it was extremely popular because of that. And in 2001, Napster was forced to shut down and agreed to it agreed to owe music creators and copyright owners $26 million in reparations. So $26 million. And Napster shut down because they've been sued multiple times, but the biggest lawsuit was A&M Records versus Napster Inc. And the Ninth Circuit Court, they basically issued an injunction to Napster saying that you can't trade copyright material anymore, prohibited them from doing that. And Napster said that they could remove 99.4% of their copyrighted material. They're like, we can do that, we can take off 99.4%. And the court's like, no, that's not good enough. 99.4% was enough. So they had to shut down because of that. And Napster had kind of started like a revolution in the music industry because of what they've done. And even after Napster's death, many other music piracy services started popping up left and right after that. So these are just a couple of the services that started popping up. I'm sure a lot of you know what LimeWire is. LimeWire popped up in about 2000, and it was active for about 2000 to 2010. And then BitTorrent was another one that's still like extremely active today. And according to BitTorrent's website, they say our technologies are used by hundreds of millions of people around the world, and they currently drive between 20 and 40% of the internet's global traffic. So it's a lot. So now that you have a better overview of how music piracy came to be what it is today, let's go ahead and see how the industry, how it's impacted the music industry. So the Recording Industry Association of America, according to their website, is the trade organization that supports and promotes the creative and financial vitality of the major music companies. So basically, they're responsible for giving an album like a gold certification or platinum. If you've ever heard of that, they're the people that do that. And according to the RIAA, Napster, since Napster started in 1999, music sales have dropped 53%. So in 1999, the yearly music sales for that year were $14.6 billion. And then in 2013, it dropped down to $7 billion. So 53% drop. And the RIAA has also stated from 2004 to 2009, over 30 billion songs have been illegally downloaded around the world. And music piracy has basically completely changed the dynamic of the music industry, and many artists have started to speak out against it. So, in an op-ed piece in the New York Times written by Bono, actually, of U2, he states that a decade's worth of music file sharing and swiping has made clear that the people it hurts are the creators. In this case, the young, fledgling songwriters who can't live off ticket and t-shirt sales like the least sympathetic among us. And in 2000, Napster was also sued by Metallica, and the drummer for Metallica, Lars Ulrich, stated in his opening testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee, "The argument I hear a lot that music should be free must mean then that musicians should work for free. No one else works for free, why should musicians?" However, many other artists have taken the opposite stance of piracy, and they support it, actually. One example of an artist that embraced piracy is Thom Yorke, who's the leader of Radiohead. He's the frontman. And Tom York has been quoted in saying, I think a lot of the time the reason people pirate is they want access to good music, and they don't get it because the radio is shit. That's what he said. And in 2007, Radiohead released their album In Rainbows as a pay what you want, which basically means people could pay whatever they want for the album, even if it was nothing. So now that we know the massive effects that piracy has had on the industry, let's look real quick at how the music industry is trying to fight back. One of the ways that they've tried to fight back is through music streaming services like Spotify. Services like Spotify and Beats Music allow customers to pay a monthly fee of about $10 to have unlimited access to music. And this is very similar to early programs like Napster, but instead of downloading the files, the user just streams them and they're on the internet. Some of you might remember the buzz that was around the two bills that were trying to be passed, SOPA and PIPA. That's the logo for SOPA. Basically, the Library of Congress website says that SOPA authorizes the Attorney General to seek a court order against U.S.-directed foreign internet site committing or facilitating online piracy, basically just trying to stop piracy. And because of the backlash, neither of these were ever passed. And then, in a recent interview with U2, Time Magazine actually reveals that U2 and Apple have been working on a new digital music format that actually Bono says will tempt people into buying music again because it's going to be so good, basically. So, I think it's safe to say that we've covered a lot of information today about something that probably a ton of you didn't even know was important, like a prominent issue. So today I spoke about the history of music piracy, looked critically at how it has impacted the music industry, and provided information about some of the ways that the industry is trying to combat it. And as I said at the beginning of my speech, freedom comes with a price, and now you know that motto applies to music as well. So in conclusion, I ask you all to take a minute and ask yourself, after everything I said today, is that price worth it?